Hello, and welcome to the Hello House podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and this is a BBAU podcast where we look back in a retrospective review recap series, going back to its inception and going through everything that happened in the house in detail, all the way for the reboot happening on Channel 10 later this year. And I'm very excited to bring you this first bumper edition of the show as we go through the first 2 weeks of Big Brother 1 in this episode. I'm very excited. And I'm not a podcaster. It's my first time ever doing something like this. I'm a school teacher by trade, so this is my first time doing anything like this. So I'm very excited to do this for all you fellow BBAU fans listening out there. And so you can expect an episode once a week, twice a week if I have a bit more time on my hands. And in each episode, we will go through a week or a cycle of the Big Brother house, starting from the nominations, heading and ending into the eviction show. But because, with BBAU, the first 2 weeks lead to the first eviction. That's why we're doing a bumper episode for you today. And if you are watching or listening on YouTube, you'll get added visuals as well. I'll give you some little screenshots and little graphics as well. But if you're listening on the audio only podcast, you get an extra special treat because you'll be the only ones to get uncut. If you want to listen, if you're listening on YouTube and you want to listen to uncut and all my takes on the uncut episodes, I'll be giving them to you only on the audio only podcasts, and that'll be wherever you listen to podcasts. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get straight into this. And we're actually going to start with the audition show that aired a week before because we've got a few takes on that and then go straight into launch. Let's get straight into this. Let's do it. Okay, now we're starting off, and we're actually going to start off with the audition show now. And this aired a week before as a little tease towards who could be in the house, what sort of personalities we might have. And they start off and tell us that over 9,000 people had applied for the show after seeing that little promo video from There. And from those 9,000 people, over 900 people were then invited to stage 2, which was to make a 3-minute video from home selling yourself to the producers. And, you get your typical audition style videos. You have people being wacky, people doing whatever it takes to stand out. Then you have some people who are just quiet and don't have that much to say. And you have your typical people saying that they're going to be fun. That's what you get a lot. Oh, I'm so fun. Put me in the house. And producers just like, yeah, you're saying you're going to be fun. What else are you going to bring? It's like you need something more than say, I'm fun. You had your streakers. You had the one woman who was in a bikini and the man who just got her breasts out. You could full nipple. Now, I don't know if it was at the same time, but you saw full nipple. But also, Triple M Radio, they had a contest. They were like, we want to find housemate number 12. And the clip that they showed was our Peter Timms. And he was saying, I'm going to be competitive. I've got a game plan. I've just watched Survivor, so sort of know what tactics I'm going to use. And actually, it's referred to when he. We're going to get to when they first guest as people recognise him as the contest winner. Though this doesn't automatically guarantee him a place in the house, it does get him into stage 3, which was the in-person auditions, and 120 people from the just over 900 go to the in-person auditions. I know there's some in Sydney, Melbourne, and I think some in Perth as well. And in one audition group, we see Anita, Johnny, Peter, Andy, and Aaron from series 2. He's there. You'll see that Kieran and Aaron quite a bit actually during the show, because they actually end up being shortlisted into the final 40, which we'll get to later. And then we have Gemma and Blair. Now they're in a second group, audition group. And so then the groups are made to do sort of scenario games and team building games, all for the producers to see who can work well together with people, have talking discussions, and because they want people to talk in the house. They don't want just dead silence of people just sitting there reading books and magazines, because you're allowed to take books and magazines into the house. They very quickly changed that rule, I think, for next series. I think they changed to one book. But during all these segments, we have eye search. So they're looking for the eyes of Big Brother. So they have for the promos, and we find out it's this guy called Reader, and just approached one day, and the agency modeling were like, "Oh, can we use your eyes?" And like, yes. I'm like, cool. Now, I didn't think people would just go up and say, "Oh, we want you to be like a model." But it happened to my late fiance, so I actually believe that happened. But it's very cool now to know that he is the eyes of Big Brother, because in the UK, it was one of the housemates that was the eye of Big Brother, Melanie from series 1. So that's like a segment. I like that. But for a fan, it's nice to know that information. But it was weirdly placed in the middle of the group segments, because we then go back to the group games here, where they're in the middle of discussions, and like Johnny's in the same like small group as Anita, and Johnny's sort of leading the discussion, and he's just making them laugh, and Anita just is in bits of laughter, making them laugh, while in Peter's group, he's sort of holding back a little, because the two other people in this group who are quite outspoken, who are trying to sort of really hash the debate out. And they sit back, which I think was the right thing to do in this situation, because, when two people are really hashing the discussion, you don't want to sort of have a third person vote, because then it just muds up the talking. And then there was one of the questions was that they had discussed about, I think it was, there's a fire, and who do you save? Do you save a baby and put 5 people at risk, or do you save the people and let the baby die? So, which while all that conversation's going on, I was very distracted because one person looked like Farmer Dave. I don't know if it was Farmer Dave. I don't think it was, because by it, these episodes are in 360p. You can tell from the quality and the dim lighting as well. The lighting was dim in these audition rooms. But I couldn't quite tell. It had longish hair. And it was there for like a split second, and I kept on going back watching the episode, thinking, "That's Farmer Dave. I think it's Farmer Dave," and I don't think it was, but it looked very similar to Farmer Dave, and I just couldn't get that out of my head. But we also got Sarah Marie sides in there, and I think she was wearing the exact same outfit that she entered the house in. 100% on that. But we did see her, as they were waiting to find out their fate as 120 go down to 75. They crossed to Blair, and Blair says he thinks he has a better than average chance of getting into the house, because he's got more up there that he's going to be revealed, more in his brain that's going to come out in the house. And then one of the last notable things of this episode was that Kieran wants to to be on the show because he wanted to be recognised in the street because he'd seen Toadie from Neighbours, good old Ryan Maloney, in the street, and people recognised him like, yeah, hey, Toadie. And which I just laughed at. Like, that is so Kieran. And we're going to talk about Kieran more in series 2. But I just like that Kieran. Like, Kieran had quite a bit of focus. They cut to him quite a few times in the show, even though it doesn't make it. And we'll see him and talk about him in series 2. But you can tell already he would make a really good housemate. And so then for the rest of the show, the producers of the show, the network, and some Star Endemol, who are very lovely because they allow me to post episodes on this channel. They go over different combinations once they got down to the final 40 of who will work best with each other, what combination will work best in the house until they get the final 12 because they said that it's so like 12 people at a dinner party. So they're doing that, and also during the show they cut back to the house designer and the building of the house at the backlot wasteland of Dreamworld, and then wanted to make a big house. So there's lots of space, and it's sort of made from scratch and not like the prefab, like IKEA ones that many other countries were doing at the time. So Renee was like, ooh, here's some of the shortlisted people. Could they be in the house? And so that's where they left off. And we very soon, a week later, found out who went into the house because it was launch day. So let's get into that. And the moment we have waited for, it's launch night. And Gretel is there with the crowd outside the house. In the first 2 series, they start off right outside the doors with the crowd, the small crowd. Gretel does give us a tour of the house. It's nothing really special. It has the chickens. The chickens are there for the first series. And we do get storyline midway through the series involving Roger the chicken. But we'll get to it in the future. But there's nothing really special about the house tour. But Gretel says as she's running through the house that she needs galoshes and a better bra. I don't know whether she got them, but even said we get straight into housemate number 1, Christina. Christina Ballerina's first up. She's 27, a dancer from Sydney. And she does come off very nervous. Oh, bless her, she's a bit reserved here. I think she was fine that she saw the crowd. I think she didn't expect it. And so she's a bit nervous. Greta asked her what she's packed in her bag in her suitcase, and she says she's packed some caffeine, some chocolates, some books, some magazines. Now this was back where you're allowed books and magazines, but that was definitely changed after the amount of time we see them reading books in the house. We then see a little bit of VT from her, and she says she's not anal, but she's a clean freak and she likes everything to be clean. She's more of a peacemaker in the house, and she's using this as a bit of a transition. She's just left being a dancer, and so she's just transitioning into different parts of life. So she says she might transition into a waitressing job. Who knows? But we do later find out that she started a new career, and that she wants win the prize money and fall for a guy in the house, a bloke in the house. Sweet, she'll be happy to get both. And that's all we'll really get from Christina, first housemate. And then we're introduced to Gordon. And Gordon's 28. He's an architect from Melbourne. We can instantly tell as he gets out of the car that he's quite a charmer. He's lapping it up, the crowd, and he's all smiles. And Gretel instantly fawns over him. So he goes over to his girlfriend and they do a bit of make out, and Gretel's not happy about it. And for those that don't know this, Gretel hates public displays of affection, and like watching people kiss. She thinks quite gross. So that's a bit of a preface about Gretel, and it's not just now. Like it happens over the years. We get to know about Gretel, and then in his VT, we get to see that he loves biking, and he says that if you're not crashing your bike, you're not doing it right. His friend says he's not shy, he's very blunt, and he has a different ego every week. He likes to be the center of attention and be the center of a party, and that he has a very big head but doesn't show compassion and loves getting naked, and Uncut will be happy about that. Gretel's still fawning over him a little bit, and this is very interesting. They do bag checks, so he's with Gretel, and the opening bag looking through his bag, and they're like the only one they do showing this, but they see he's brought in an inflatable dolphin for the pool, which perfectly fine. But I think Gretel was slightly upset because she thought he would bring in some sex toys, and he didn't. So Gretel, not for that, but still, I think she's still on the Gordon train. We now move on to housemate number 3, which is Andy, the infamous T. She's on New South Wales. And while we do, just before I get onto Andy, like a lot of housemates are from either New South Wales or like very close Sydney or close to Sydney, and then Melbourne, and then you have Sam Reed from Perth. That's it. So their cross country search very limited, and sort of either you're in Sydney or just outside of it, sort of New South Wales and Glebe, and then you have your Melbourne people, and then you have Sam Marie in Perth. Poor Sam Marie. And we'll come to her in a minute. But she's 25, and also Beth says the average age of the group of 12 is 26. That's the average age. So she's just under the average. She's smiling even though she's quite nervous, and they go to Damon, the husband, and Gretel does not like the look of Damon. Beth is interesting calling him a Jesus husband, thinks he looks a bit like Jesus. And they talk about open relationships and if the open marriage will be allowed in the house, and they say yes. And we go into the VD, and she says she likes people watching her and needs 90% of people to look at her when she walks into a room, and if she doesn't like get that, she goes back out and does it again to make sure everyone looks at her. She says she's not modest and she's known to talk too much. She says she has an interesting mind and likes to have interesting intellectual conversations. Damon, of course, says he wants everyone to watch her on TV. So we get that instant impression that Andy's going to be one of the possibly outspoken housemates already from the first 3, and it seems here that she's like she likes people looking at her, so she might very well get along with Gordon, and we can see that already from these first 3 housemates. Housemate number 4 comes out, and it's Pete. He made it, the Triple M winner, and he's from Sydney, and he works in the wine business. And he does seem a little nervous and intimidated meeting Gretel, and he seems a bit stiff. I think it's sort of dawned on him that he's actually here now. He says that he'll miss wine and hanging out at the beach, but he doesn't like to be hanging around with idiots. They drive him mad. We find out he went to private school, and that he has a big family, so he's used to having no privacy. So we'll be fine with a lack of privacy in the house with the 11 other housemates. It says he doesn't generally get annoyed that easy, but when something really sets him off, he will go at it. And so like be really annoyed. And he says he's here to win, and if he wins, he will give the maid to help look after his mom and dad. Oh, we're starting to see, because we've heard like from here and the audition show that he's sort of like got this strategy, but here we see like this softer side of why he's sort of wanting to go and wanting to win, which I kind of like that from Pete. And well, we could tell from his VT when he was having like drinking the wine and laughing, like he can be up for a laugh. And then we see Sarah Marie's next, and she's the only one from birth. And so she comes out in spaghetti straps. We'll talk about the housemate's fashion later on in our next segment. But she goes up to meet her friend who, in the Friends and Family pen, and it's her friend Brett, who's a friends with benefits. And she says that, I'll just leave the friends with benefits at that part because it just felt like Brett, like Gretel kept on asking about it, and I think Brett was a bit awkward about it. So I'm moving on. She said, waiting to go in is the most intense bit right now, the most like she's feeling nervous about. And she says in a VT that she's happily single and lives with her sisters. And in that package, first the bum dance already now. The bum dance I thought was she made on the show, it's iconic on the show, but no. The bum dance was already in existence, and we see her working at the Dollhouse Gentlemen's Club. And she tells us that if she has a white cloak, and if she covers herself in a white cloak, that it means time out and she doesn't want to be disturbed. And then Gretel keeps on pushing this whole Brett love storyline with Sarah Marie, and it's just not going anywhere. And we move on to housemate number 6, which is Todd. He's 27 and a builder from Melbourne. He brings with him like this African drum, which I think was an interesting choice. But we then find out he plays in a band. I hope with like actual drums. He tells us that he's lived in many shared houses and he's lived in 36 different houses. He tells us that he's quite spontaneous, a bit mellow, and he can be a bit. We find out he's a bit of a ladies' man, and he will do almost anything in the house. He also says that he didn't bring any shampoo into the house, so that's going to be interesting. Those dreads will stink quite quickly, and we've learned from Rory in Series 8 that dreads stink over time. We've sort of learned that quite quickly. We then move on to Gemma. She's 26, a hair and makeup artist from Melbourne, and she is very excited when she gets out of the car, and she's got that adrenaline rush, and she goes over and says goodbye to Grant. But this time, Gretel usually falls over the good-looking guys, but Gretel does not fall over Grant, which I was a bit surprised here that she didn't. But Gemma says she's here for the ride, and she doesn't care about winning. She doesn't care if she wins or loses. In a VT, she says that she's a nutter, and she does it in this like sort of British accent, which I just found hilariously funny. She says she can't stand confrontation, but is a sex kitten. Interesting. And that she saw a psychic a year before and told her that she would be on Big Brother. Now, of course, I'm not sort of someone who sort of believes in that sort of psychic ability in that way. I have predicted the future before through dreams. I do predict the future in my dreams. Like I see something that's going to happen, and sometimes like a week later it's going to happen, or like it can be a few years later that that event actually happens. But go for it. Gretel then asks about in-house relationships, and it seems like a bit of an awkward topic, but it seems like Gemma is quite settled with her boyfriend Grant. We then move on to the youngest of our housemates. It's Blair, who's 19 from Melbourne. He is a student. Blair, he has noted the career that's going to come upon him from leaving the house. He brought a guitar with him, even though we can't play it. And we'll learn very soon enough that he definitely cannot play the guitar. And Gretel, just like the others, fawns over him, but she doesn't fawn over him as much as she did with Gordon. And she asks him, "What's in the bag? In like your bag, like your suitcase, to give you secret pleasures?" And he says, "A football." Then in his VT, he goes, he's a raging heterosexual, which I find very strange. He has to make that clear in his VT. Like, I don't know why he had to make that very explicit. He says he's confident but arrogant. We learned he's confident in the audition show. He says he's loud, he's a smart ass, but slightly cocky, but he's a mummy's boy. And he had this Dalmatian. The dog looked really cute in his VT. And Greta asks, do you think you're going to fall in love in the house? And he says, I already have. So trying to get on side with Gretel there, trying to win the bonus points for the host. We then move to housemate number 9 here, which is Lisa. And Lisa is 24. She's a receptionist from Melbourne. And when she comes out the car, she's quite quiet. She's quite shy. And she says she's just going to take it easy in the house. And Gretel asks if she's taken any relaxants, because she just looks so chill and sort of quite reserved. I think I don't think they told them that there was sort of going to be a crowd there, and I think that just took a few of them off guard. And she does, when Gretel talks, she does feel quite reserved in her answers. We then see her little VT package, and she says she likes to go to the pub, play some games of pool, and that she's genuine, but her memory's not the best, and that she forgets her age, and that she has a wide family, as in geographically, because she was born in Papua New Guinea, and that from her being with her family, that if she can last her family, she can last being in the Big Brother house. And it seemed like Gretel was interviewing her, but she looked like she was just trying to get away from Gretel as quickly as possible. She's like, finish the questions, please. That's what it felt like to me. Like she was just over Gretel interviewing her, and she just wanted to get into the house. Housemate number 10 comes up, and it is Johnny. He's the second oldest housemate at 30 years old. He's from Sydney, he's a personal trainer. And he laps at the crowd straight away. And Gretel asks, are you used to large crowds? And he said, yes, he's been on some Mardi Gras festivals of this. If you didn't guess already, was sort of the sort of introduction that he's gay, and so he will be the token gay one, which I'm saying that because usually in casting, sometimes they want to sort of said diversity, and they're sort of like to get one sort of each cast of each sort of category to say, oh, we cast diversity here, and so that's sort of a stereotype that they've sort of cast here. But there is more to Johnny, as we learn here. He said he likes to help others. He's patient and flexible, but he likes to control his environment. So I think he's saying it's sort of especially he likes to be clean and have the environment he wants to live in. But he doesn't like to wash the dishes. He likes to cook, but doesn't like to wash the dishes. And his friends say he oozes sex appeal, and he could be a dark horse. And Gretel does seem to sort of fawn over him slightly, but he sort of tries to match the crowd's energy, and he's very sort of a positive person, came across. We next gets Shana, she's 34 from Melbourne. She's the oldest housemate. She's nervous, but she says she's full of energy. She's loud and never shuts up. She said she's single forever. I used to say that. I used to be single for a long time. I said I was single forever, and I'll happily be single. But then I fell in love, so that takes me out of it. And then she says there's not a guy for her, but she's always on the prowl, and that she's going to miss going to the pub, and that she goes to the pub 3 nights a week, and that she likes to have her own freedom, and it's going to be funny to see that taken away in the house. Her friends say she thinks that she's funny, but she's sweet and generous. Gretel then likens her to say, "Oh, you look like Kerry Ann Kennelly," and and Shauna did not like that. She's like, "No," I feel like she's gotten that a bit before. She doesn't think she can win. And for some reason, the crowd sing the Muppet song, the do 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 do, which I didn't get sort of the reference for that. I didn't really watch the Muppet, so I sort of didn't get that reference. And then here comes housemate number 12. It's Ben. He's from Epping in New South Wales. He's 21, and he works in irrigation. And so we learn quickly he's a sports buff, because even before he walks out, we get introduced to Daniel Herbert, the vice captain of the Australian Wallabies, who just happens to be there as a surprise for Ben. So he comes out and he's very polite and very courteous towards Gretel. And as he says, he says his goodbye to his mates, and there's like, "Oh, it's Daniel from the Wallabies," and Daniel gives him a shirt for him to take into the house. One thing about Ben, he's very tall. I feel like I had to creak and echo quite a bit to look at him. We find out that he works with his cousin, and he's very loyal and determined, generous, and he's openly emotional, and has his heart on his sleeve, and is very single. So, could he find love in the house? Who knows? So that is it. We've met all 12 housemates, and they're ready to go into the house. And so we get then at the end of the launch show, sort of a 20 minutes of Daily Show action. And so they all go into the house for the very first time. And they're all very excited to meet each other. And some are in particular excited because some of them know each other from the auditions. Quite a few of them were in the same audition group. And Todd and Sarah Marie are the first to branch off from the main group and go take a look at the chickens. And Andy instantly goes and claims the double bed in bedroom 1, while Pete and Ben bond over their like of rugby, and Ben recognizes Pete as the Triple M competition winner. So does Ben know that Pete said, "Oh, I want to win"? Interesting. So Todd is the first into the heated pool, jumps into the pool, finds out it's heated. And Ben knew Christina did ballet, I think, from the auditions. But then she says she now has started to do stand-up comedy. And Gemma and Shana discuss how they're going to maneuver the shower with the cameras, because they don't want to show their protuberances in the shower to the whole nation. And Andy then starts to unpack alone in the bedroom, while Blair bounces. I think Blair bought like a golf ball and a golf club, and so he sort of does some tricks bouncing golf balls on the golf club. And Sammy and Shauna are bonding over having the men do everything for them, because they're talking to them about like the recycling, like what bins to use. Shauna's very happy that there's 6 men in the house to do things for her. And Andy is still going on about the double bed and making sure everyone knows that she has double bed. I'm like, Andy, we know. But she does bring out from a suitcase a Charmander teddy bear. Now, when she first brought it out, I thought it was a Charmander, but I wasn't 100% sure. But then she said it, and I was very relieved because I'm not a Pokemon person. I know very limited about Pokemon, but I knew what a Charmander was, and I got it right. So I felt very happy with myself about that. And as I said, Andy's unpacking the bedroom, and all the other girls are in the garden. And Christina talks about how she just wants to clean already, and how she wants everything clean, and her and a few others are happy that they have a bond of liking to clean. And uh, while she's unpacking, Andy comes in, and Andy shows Johnny her vlogger. Todd, we then see Todd chopping logs to the fire because they have an indoor like fireplace. And so Todd, they wanted to have like a little fire to start off the night, just see if it works. And so Todd starts chopping logs to fire, and he's giving big swings, and he breaks the axe, he breaks the splitter. And Shauna tries to come to help, and like she tries to be invested. And after seeing him break it, she sort of like runs away quickly. We then see, well, they do end up getting replacements for it, but it was just funny that Todd breaks it. But Todd doesn't have the best first night. He breaks the axe and the splitter, and then we'll see what it does in a minute. But everyone else is talking in the lounge room, and already they're referring to Christine as Christina Ballerina, which I thought was funny because I didn't think that would come until later, but no, quite early. I think also because they knew she was a ballerina from the auditions, because a lot of them were in the same audition group. We then see Todd was in the kitchen. It was like throwing things, and I don't actually know what he threw, but he hit Andy like under the eye, and so she goes get some eyes. She goes to the bathroom, and Blair goes to cheer her up, and Lisa, Gordon, and Todd then go take a late night swim, and Lisa says that she finds many guys and girls attractive, and and it ends there in terms of daily action and our first impressions from the house. And from the start, I would say my favorite housemates, and looking at the list so far, I liked, like, remembering from the first time I watched this, I liked Johnny. I thought he had a very outgoing personality. Blair was someone who I was interested in getting to know more of. Like when he said raging heterosexual, that really put me off a little bit. But I felt like being young, I felt like I wanted to know a bit more about him. I I also felt wanted to know more about Andy. I thought she was very interesting. We didn't really get to know Sarah Marie right at the beginning because we got a lot of Todd action here, and I thought we'd get a bit from Pete, maybe thinking, oh, the strategy's begun that he was prefacing in his auditions, but we didn't really get anything from that either. And also, I was very interested in Gordon, what he would get up to in the house. And so that's what happened during the launch show. But I want to go into their fashions. What do I think about what they wore into the house in our first recurring segment called It's Fashion, a Haute Couture? Okay, now we've talked about the launch night as a whole, we're going to get into our first recurring segment called Is It Fashion or Haute Couture, where we break down the fashion element. So, from week to week, we're going to be looking at Gretel's outfit. We're going to be talking about the housemates' eviction outfits for the nominees, and also we're going to look at some of the best dressed fan looks. See what hilarity they bring because they're always fun, especially the ones where they dressed up in series 3 as Reggie's pregnancy test. That was a moment. But anyway, so it's our special launch night edition, as this gives us a first impression of who you are. And so I'm just going to preface now, I'm not a fashion expert. Okay, I have no qualifications in fashion, and usually people usually disagree with me when I talk about fashion. So here we go. So I'm going to categorize them into 4 different tiers. We've got it's a no. Like, no, what were you thinking? We've got that was a concept. It was a choice. It's a concept. We've got fashionista and then haute couture. Doesn't mean that it's a haute couture look. It's just I think it's very fashionable and I really like it. So let's start. We're going to go in order of how they arrived, starting with Christina. And Christina, she wore the denim on denim look, which people usually think as a fashion faux pas, but I quite liked it here. And I ranked her down as a fashionista. Not quite haute level, but I generally liked it. For most of the looks as a whole as well, the the camera went in close and Gretel was in there, so we couldn't really fully see like the bottom part of the outfit for most of them. But I generally liked it. She's got that black top. It's decent. It tells me that I feel like it tells me that she's cool, and she was still very reserved. But I liked the outfit. So she classes down to me as a fashionista. Okay, the next housemate we are going to look at. Oh, it's Gordon. Okay, Gordon. I- I'm sorry for this. It is haute couture. He comes out in orange. We have 3 housemates wearing orange. You never usually see one person wear orange, but we see here 3 people wearing orange in the cast. Gordon's the first one. I think this fits him well. I'm looking at the photo right now, and I think it was a very well selected top, and he's chosen the right good cut to show his arms. And though my only thing I would change is he's got the long pants and with I think the bottom half of the trousers are very baggy. I would have liked that brought in. But apart from that, I like the look. Though I will say, I think he also is hiding a bit of a belt. I don't know unless he necessarily needs it. It's like one of those like thin but wide belts, which I'm not against that. But still, overall, I like the look. Uh, and it's sort of a look that I sort of would wear. Like I definitely would wear that top. So I think it's haute couture. Next up is Andy, and Andy went for the canary yellow look and jeans. I'm a jeans person, so if you wear jeans, you're in with me. And there are quite a few of them wore jeans here. Though I did give her, I've put in a category of it was a concept. I feel like this is very much a day look. I feel like this is more of a I'm going out shopping, or I'm just going to lay down on the beach for a little bit look. It's not like I don't like it, but it's just it's not really saying to me because and I think maybe because also we know Andy a little bit um from our rewatches that I don't think this is sort of tells me exactly who she is. So if because in her profile she said, if you remember, she said, "Oh, when I walk into a room, I want 95% of people looking at me, and if not, I'll go and do it again until they all look at me." And like with that yellow top, yeah, you might stand out, but I wouldn't say it's an impressive look. I'm not saying that compared because there's other people I think that stand out a bit more. Then next up, I believe, was Pete. Pete's next, housemate number 4, and he's another one. I was like, another orange, very close by. I've put this. I was flickering between concept and just a no. I've put him in a concept because it's not that bad. You know, it tells me that he's a relaxed guy and he's quite chill and reserved, and it's going to take his time. And I feel like he's trying to go for I feel like he's trying to go for a non sort of threatening look, because remember he said, remember in the audition show he said, "Oh, I have a game, but I'm going to be competitive." It's not like, comparing it to Gordon. I'm not a fan of the top, and that's sort of where it comes to. Um, but overall, he looks decent. I'm not unhappy with it. It's good. Next up is Sarah Marie. Now, Sarah Marie, I'm sorry, I'm putting you as a no, and we know Sarah Marie and what to expect from her, but like, I'm sorry, these spaghetti straps. Oh no, and like, so we can see the straps at the bottom, we can see the spaghetti straps. Spaghetti straps are just no. But she has the word bow, okay, and then she has the skirt. Um, I think if the skirt was, and I believe the partings at the front. I think if it was like a side parting, a bit of mother bear, but I think the top, because I feel like we saw it in the audition show as well. I think it was just I kind of go the spaghetti straps. I'm sorry, I'm going on about them, but for me, this just doesn't say I want to present myself for the first time to the nation who could possibly watch me for up to 3 months. Um, but doesn't mean we don't love Sarah Marie. She is an icon, and we know that. It was just this look for me wasn't the moment. And then we move on to Todd. Now I put Todd as fashionista here. Um, he's got the plaid look. He's got the dreads. He has the long trousers. I think his outfit really suits him really well. Actually, I was quite impressed, and because it told me it sort of his outfit sort of matched what I got from him, the vibe I got for him from his VT, and I'm overall happy with the look. I like it, and I felt it was a overall good look. I don't really have any overall complaints about it, and I'm looking back over the photo now. And I don't we had, but it's sort of not for me. I feel like there's slightly better looks. And I don't want to give everyone hoot couture, but he's definitely. I feel like he's fashionista level. We are about halfway through already, I think, because we now have some number 7. That's Gemma. Gemma's definitely haute couture. Gemma, I feel like now we know she's a makeup artist, and she's given me here a bit of like rocker here with the top, and um the jeans here with the sort of whitish belt, and it's given me, I don't want to say creepy vibe, but she has the coat. The coat makes it haute couture for me. It's extra saying I am the moment, and it was one of the standout looks that I remember from it, because she wore this coat. Come on, we don't know. It might have been cold that night, even though most of them are wearing short sleeves or no sleeves at all. I just, I really like this look from Gemma, and it gave me this impression like I take care of myself. I, I'm sort of that person. Watch out for me. I always want to look my best, and so I've categorized her as haute couture. Now, housemate number 8 is Blair. Now, I've put Blair as it's a concept. Um, Reason being for that is I did like his top. I like the grey top. I'm into that. The grey with the white. I'm fine with it. It was the shorts that was the issue here. I'm like with the shorts. It was like I felt like the cut of the shorts. I don't think it was the best look, and you know I do get like the color of the shorts matches some of the top. I like that. I just didn't feel like shorts was the right way to go. I felt it would have been better if it was like full on trousers. Um, so that's why I haven't given it fashionista, but it does look good, and this is our first introduction to that. And you know, the girls were happy with it. The girls loved him. From the viewers, so go with it. We now move on to housemate number 9, which is Lisa. And Lisa, this is a no. No, 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 no. Lisa, this looks like Lisa's going out to the pub. It's like, oh, I'm just going out for a little drink at the pub, a little jolly. And it doesn't, or like, well, at the top, it's giving me, I'm going to work. I'm going for a day. She says she was a receptionist. I'm going today, work behind the desk, and then straight after, I'm going to the pub for a beer. That's what it's giving me. In terms of impressions, it's giving me okay. This is like I like to at least I'm a fun person. I can get that, but it's just for a launch show and setting yourself up, say, and as a first impression, like I didn't really get it. I thought she was just stopping by after work. Like it wasn't for me the moment, and we know Lisa's lovely, but for me, this is a no. We're nearly at the end. We're actually in the house with number 10, which is Johnny. And I liked this look. I give it a haute couture. Um, of course, the cut of the tops are making sure his, and I think him and Gordon chose the top was very well to say, okay, I'm gonna show off my arms. Though uh, from what I'm looking again, like the grey trousers, not a big fan of. Like if you're gonna wear, for me, if you're wearing trousers, keep it to either like the blue jeans. Um, white is sometimes acceptable, or sort of black. Like grey for the bottom half is I think it's a no. And so sometimes washes out, but I don't know why. But in this, I feel like it works for Johnny. And so I'm so okay this, and I think as a whole package it works, and I thought he sold the garment. Um, so I gave it a haute couture because it tells me, you know, I, I'm a gym guy. So because and like it's like it came off as more of he'd thought about it. He'd really thought about it and what pieces went together. And I really liked how the ensemble was presented. Then we got Shauna, and Shauna for me it was a concept. I liked the black look, and then she used the orange shirt as sort of an accentuant to that to make it pop. I like that. I liked how she used the black belt. I like that how she used the same color belt. I like that. Um, some people aren't for all black, but I liked how she used all black in this. She's Even though it's a basic look, I really enjoyed this. Looking back at now and rethinking, I would say fashionista because she kept it. She is definitely fashion. Okay, I'm changing it to her to fashionista because her look is minimal, but I think is very impactful because I remember that orange shirt on Shana. That's something I remember from her heading into this launch. And like, orange shirt, that's Shana. And then last but not least is Ben. Now, Ben went for a shirt. He was the only one of the men that went for, of course, apart from Todd's plaid look, he's the other one who went for a shirt look here and went for a short sleeves shirt. And I think that he looked really good actually here. I liked that uh, he had sort of the black bombs as well. But then people like all black, especially when like, oh, it could be a funeral. But I think because he had the undone button, I think it made him look cool. He wasn't sort of in his sports gear because a lot of his packages like I'm a sports person, and yet Damien there's like I'm a sports person. I like rugby, but this tells me that you know this actually gives me more of a meeting new people vibe. It's giving me okay. I'm meeting new people for the first time. It's night time. We're gonna go in. Most likely have a kiki. Of course, he wouldn't use the word kiki, but it's like giving me welcoming vibes, and I really like that. So I'm gonna put him as a fashionista here. I felt that he really picked out these choices really well here from the ensemble. And last one, I'm not including this in the list, but Gretel's look. I think if I had to include it in the list, I would make her a fashionista. Um, I liked the pink jacket, but I feel like the color of the dress was slightly off for me. I wasn't that keen on the color of the dress. I think if it was a slightly different shade or slightly different dark color, I think that would have worked. And making the jacket pop, sort of like how Shana did it. But I still generally I liked the look, and I would call her a fashionista. And so that is the end of our first round of It's Fashion or Haute Couture. Don't forget to comment. Send me your feedback on do you agree with me on my comments about the fashion on the looks. I want to know what you think about it. And we're going to get now straight in to Daily Show action. And we start with the first full day in the house. And Lisa is the first to rise with Gordon and Blair. And Gordon has brought in a yoga ball, and Lisa and Blair watching him work out. Instantly, Blair's like, yeah, I'm exhausted just watching him. And he does do exercises, but for like 2 seconds. He might have done it for longer, but we just didn't see it. And then Lisa and Blair go feed the chickens and see they've got eggs. And Roger the chicken does not like Blair and just pecks at him. And Johnny then actually does his first morning workout session. He does it every day. And he does a yoga session. And the first sighting of the ceremony bunny ears here. Todd wears the bunny ears. And Pete is the first to go, we see anyway, into the diary room to collect information on the first weekly task. Now, the allocation for the shopping budget is £3, so not £3, $3.50 a day per person. So that's $294 overall for the whole house. And their first task is to answer 7 questions. They'll get to write those down, and then they'll have 24 hours to memorize it. They'll have their clipboards with the answers with them. Then I'll have them taken away, and they'll have to then remember the answers. The whole house needs to remember the answers of every single person's questions to be tested later in the week, and they cannot get no more than one fail. They can fail once, but get 2 incorrect answers, and it is over. And they can bet up to 25 to 100% of the weekly budget, and they go safe because they have a lot of food from opening night feast still left, and so they bet 25%. They then do their first weekly shopping list, and there's sort of no real arguments, and there's sort of no one has a real disagreement over anything on the shopping list, which I think might change over time. We'll have to see. And I don't know who brought them in, but there's these inflatable like boxing gloves, and I think it's Gordon and Todd. They're fine with them, and it's a bit funny. And then the girls are practicing for the task and asking each other questions, and suddenly the a random question comes up of how long does it take for a chicken to hatch? And so because they think Blair comes from the country, they ask him, and he thinks a week, but not entirely sure. And Pete says 9 months. Oh, Pete, that's always just a funny moment. And then we skip around to later where they're praying for their first dinner as a house. And there's 9 housemates in the kitchen. I had to pause and count. There's 9 of them. I think Christina is turned to the other side, to the worktop, but there's 9 of them in the kitchen. I'm sorry, that is too many. The other 3 were like laying the table. That is just too many. Too many people in the kitchen. I wouldn't be able to move. And later, bedtime. Todd reveals that he's stopped building, like working within building recently, because um of creative differences. Like he wants to go a different sort of way creatively, and I'm not entirely sure what it is, but potentially something ish, potential like rockiness with his girlfriend. Not entirely sure because he later says that if he does say that he's in love with her, so not sure about what that part of the conversation was about. And then Johnny shares his second night with Andy, and it's like, ooh, Johnny's going into Andy's bed. And there's like, oh, it's Johnny. He's gay, so it's fine. And we move on to the next day. And we start with Johnny singing in the shower. Now, to save water course, they have only an hour of hot water. And so they decided to wash in pairs. And I couldn't see that a towel was blocking the view. So I couldn't quite tell who was in the shower. I thought it was Andy at first, but we see Andy showering later on. And then I thought it was Shana and Gemma, but we'll catch them in a minute because we go from Johnny singing in the shower to we go to Lisa and Ben, and then we're like in the lounge room, and they talk about how it's Anzac Day. They always like Anzac Day as usual was at the beginning of the season, and that Ben wanted to do a minute silence at dinner, and they decided they wanted to bake Anzac biscuits. So they get all the ingredients. Oh, we're gonna make these biscuits. We never see how the biscuits turn out. We we hear a lot about them making the biscuits and the biscuits cooking, but we never see how they turn out. So I don't know. But while they're talking about Anzac Day, we go back to the shower because it's Shana and Gemma's turn in the shower now. They're very camera shy in the shower, and we're looking at ways to make sure they're covered up. And Gemma has this whole little scheme to make sure, and like this little move so people won't see her boobs in the shower. And that might be the highlight of Gemma's day, honestly, getting in the shower because things from there go wrong. So while they're baking the biscuits, they go and play volleyball in the garden, and Gemma um should be hitting the ball with 2 hands, but she only does it with 1, and she injures her wrist. And Johnny and Shanna quickly take care of her. And while Johnny's looking after her, we find out that Johnny, her girlfriend, said he was 22, and that he didn't want to. He had feelings for her, but just didn't want to lead them on anymore, which is understandable. And then Gemma gets taken to hospital. We see her leave, and they're like, "Oh, we miss Gemma." And then we go to a break, and we come back, and Gemma comes back. So not long trip, and actually, she was in there for like 2 hours, possibly. She was not in there very long. And after we come up, we see like Gemma and Lisa talking, and they were like, "Oh, we like really missed you. It felt like we really like we missed someone, even though they've only been there 2 days now." And I think how hard it will be when someone actually goes. And this is sort of the first sort of sort of hint at nominations talk, but Lisa's like, "Oh, we're not going to talk about it because we're not allowed to talk about it." So she sort of dies that conversation down. But it's sort of that first sort of hint at nomination talk. We then get a new task, a mini task, and that's for them to build a barbecue. And so Ben gets the task instructions and has to read it out to everyone in the group. But Andy is in the shower while everyone's outside. So everyone comes inside into the bathroom where Andy's just got the shower. And she's just drying. And like they had to censor her as she's just like naked there, just drying herself off as Ben reads the instructions, which is funny. Um, so they have to build their own barbecue in the garden. And so as they're doing this, that they're lifting the bricks from the storeroom into the garden, and you see just Andy there, who's naked in just a towel and a towel covering her body and a like towel over her hair, just lifting like bricks onto the garden, which I just found hilariously funny. That was just so funny to me, and they did it like in the little teaser promo before they went to break about it. Oh, it was just funny. We then see the first sort of real bonding moment between Pete and Christina as they go, as Pete chops wood and Christina has a go as well. And then we go straight to Andy and Sarah Marie. They're debating the new barbecue. And like, it's just going, you're like rotting all over it. I'm like, that might not be in the rules, but end of that, everyone wrote on it. We see much later on that everyone. So I think it's okay. Then, as they're preparing for dinner, Pete breaks the sink tap. It just goes up. And I actually remember this because we see it in flashbacks from future seasons when they do like little flashback things. Um, this was one of the moments when people were on, and I didn't think it was this early on. I thought a few weeks in, not the very start. So it was good to see it again, and he tapes it up, but Shana was still worried that it wasn't fixed, but Pete taped up. And then we got our first real proper diary room, and it is from Christina because they all had the dinner and they all had Ben's like, let's do the midside and Saturday. And Christina started to get the giggles. And she says that she felt guilty about it because she didn't know how long a minute was, and she was laughing because um the clock was taped up, so they didn't know what time it is because they can't know what time it is. And she then goes on to feel like how feel like she's been a bit reserved in the house, and how she wants to come out of her shell a bit more. And so then she's on the sofas with Pete, and she's doing Pete's nails, and then Blair comes in, and he is just making her laugh. And we see the first instance of the love triangle between Blair, Pete, and Christina. Day 4 in the house, so they've gone from 2 in the shower to 3 in the shower. I didn't think there was room for for them to do 3 in the shower at once, but they do. And Pete, of course, there's no dryers or washing machines in the build house, so you have to do all your washing by hand. And Pete's had to learn the hard way of how to do that. Everyone is still practicing for the weekly task because remember, only one incorrect answer, and you know, well, 2 incorrect answers actually, and you fail the task. And they're going to be tested on that later in the episode. Ben randomly does a dramatic reading from Lord of the Flies, which I thought was random. Yeah, that was just random. And then Gemma does some makeup on Pete. And during it, they talk about the challenges between living in the city and living in the country and the impact on both adults and children. I felt it was a really good bonding moment between them, and we see them in this a few times actually in the first few days. them to have these sort of conversations. We then get tested on the weekly task, and they're all called inside to watch, and they get the plasma screen out for the first time to watch each other take the test in the diary room. And lucky that they are inside because a storm hits outside, so they're out the rain, and all's going well. But then Johnny makes a mistake, and another pair from the ceremony bunny is here on Shana. And it then all comes down to Andy. And the first question on this, I think it was half Andy. It was like, which 5 housemates named Madonna as their ideal mother? I think the question was, which was a very random question. And that was really tough to name the 5 because that's different from, I think, any other question they had so far. But she won it for the group, and they won the weekly task. Well done, housemates. And I think they're very pleased on that. But Johnny does feel a bit down about making a mistake. Oh, poor Johnny. So of course they had the storm, and so Blair and Sarah Marie moved the chickens to higher ground out of the storm. And then as they're making dinner, we get a Dawn French mention. I would never have thought that Dawn French would have been mentioned on BBAU. Never in a million years, but here we are. It's between P and P, because Ocean Mountain, and then he was getting confused between French. He was like, oh, Dawn French was in Ab Fab, but it was getting mixed with French and Saunders, and it sort of led to a funny moment between Pete and Christina, and there was definite flirting there. I think there was. Anyway, we then get an interesting conversation here with Gemma and some of the other girls, because Gemma was saying how even though she says oh, I'm a size 8 to 10, in the modeling world she's still seen as too big to be a model, and the girls of course are outraged by this, and you can see just Andy eating chocolate, and as she's saying this, Andy gives the biggest eye roll. She can't believe what Gemma's saying. And I actually laughed. The eye roll was over there. I went back and watched it a few times. We then get more flirting from Christina, but this time with Blair. They're just laughing. They do like to make a lot of Friends references, and they refer to Ben as being a Joey or a Phoebe, which if one of the Friends characters, who would Blair be? I don't know actually. Yeah, maybe a Joey or a Phoebe actually. But remember, he is still quite young as a baby and still learning. We then get a diary room from Andy and takes us left field and says she fancies Christina, but she's getting to fancy a little bit everyone and maybe have her friends with benefits. Maybe with Gordon, who knows? And then the episode ends with Christina cuddling up to Pete in bed in their first, because this was made sort of a big storyline of her cuddling up with Pete. And Andy, this time, not with Johnny. She's sharing the bed with Sarah Marie and they have a little cuddle up. So that was the first week of Daily Show action. And then the Sunday show was a nomination special. And we're going to get to that right now in another recurring segment, which I call Nomination Investigation. Do you have a BBAU topic that you just can't get out of your head? Or do you have a burning question that you just want answered? Well, send them to me. If you're listening to this on YouTube, send me them in the comments. Or if you're listening on the audio podcast, send me an email at hellahousepod@gmail.com and I'll answer them in an upcoming podcast. Before we start the nominations, actually, we get they are explained the nomination rules, and Shana said that she would spew if she's nominated, but Lisa says she really wants to stay, and Gemma is feeling the pressure of having to nominate two people and choosing two people, while Sammy thinks she might possibly be nominated, and Johnny just has no clue at all of who he's going to nominate. So we start off with Sammy, and before each housemate nominates, we get like this little fact file, giving us a bit more information about them, and we see some of their VT from their friends and family talking about them. And so the interesting part from Sarah Marie's file was that she has pet rats. So she would have loved Big Brother 2 and had to look after the rat cage. And her sister said that if she won, she said that she would take her sisters on holiday to either Bali or Scotland. Two totally different places, which I just felt was so random. But she nominates Shana for 2 points and Gordon for 1 point for the same reason. Not really having that close connection with them. Especially with these nominations, I want her to go into a bit more detail here and say, even because there's no time limit, you can go on a bit, but like, how much time has she spent with them to determine that there isn't this close connection? I want a little more detail in that aspect. We then see Todd's nominations, and he plays the didgeridoo and does some fire twirling, which I want that to see in the house. I think that'd be really cool. But he is the snorer. We heard a little bit of snoring in the deli show the other day. I thought it was Todd, but I wasn't sure. But now we know it's him. And he gives 2 points to Samuel and 1 point to Andy here because he finds that he'll have less in common with them down the line, which I'm struggling to really understand what that means, because as he gets to know them, he might find that he has more in common with all the things they've done in the house. So I'm not too sure with those nominations, but then we finally get some decent reasons here from Ben. Ben gives Gordon 2 points because he's had a lot of life experiences, so it could be a threat. Now, some people, when we get to Gordon, they talk about his life experiences. So, are they saying because he's had a lot of life, like he's done lots of experiences, lots of things, that viewers will grasp to Gordon more and want to keep him because he has a lot to talk about? Possibly. So, could be for to stay in the house longer? Could be. And then it gives 1 point to Sarah Marie because he thinks that she's demanding to be around, and so it's harder to approach her to get to know her. Interesting. So, following 3 housemates nominations in the red zone at risk of eviction is Gordon and Sarah Marie at 3 points, Shana on 2 points. Andy is safe for now on 1. We then go to Shana nominated, and something that we didn't sort of get in her little package was that she's a flight attendant. I thought we'd get a bit more of that information in her profile VT, but we didn't. And she also speaks Spanish. I think that'd be interesting. And actually, she might be able to speak. If she speaks Spanish, she might be able to learn a bit of Portuguese from Andy, because they're quite similar languages. And she gives 2 points to Andy because she's quite different from her. That is quite true. Andy's quite out there, and we've seen that Shana to be quite reserved. And she also says that she least understands Andy. We also There was another day in Daily Show which I didn't mention the other day. Was that Andy was making breakfast, and it was mashed banana, mashed avocado, and Andy brought in these special like Portuguese or Brazilian oats, something like that, and you could see Shana was just confused by it. She's like, they're oats, but she couldn't read the packaging, so it just confused her. She also gives 1 point to Sarah Marie because she's young, And so she just doesn't click with her. And as we saw on launch night, they had this initial conversation about the dollhouse, but it did feel a very strange conversation there. We then move on to Gemma, and we do see for Gemma nominated. So we do see before we see Gemma nominated, we do see what happened when she went to hospital and all the dramatics there, which wasn't dramatic, but the main thing she was asking was if it was fractions, and it was all kinds of how she would do a little shower changing routine I talked about before. She was so how am I going to change in the shower? But she gives 2 points to Andy uh, because she spent less time with Andy. And is that Andy's fault? You could have made effort to spend time with her, Gemma. So I'm not fully buying that reason. And she gets 1 point to Semi because she can't live with her 24/7. She thinks Semi's just 24/7 all the time, just hyper, and she just can't deal with that. And then we have Johnny up for nominate next, and he was a runner-up Mr. Gay Sydney 1999. And these nominations shock me from Johnny. These really did. He gives 2 points to Gemma. Gemma, who became so good friends with, he gives 2 points to Gemma because she would be happy to go home. As she misses her boyfriend so much, so it's sort of like a sympathy vote, which I know in later seasons is not allowed. But I think that's kind of. But he's nominating his friend. He was so close in Gemma. So, but if Gemma goes, I think he'll really miss her. And then he gives 1 point to Andy. He was sharing a bed with her the other day because he thinks she's just different, too different from the rest of the group, which I think is a big of a cop out. And I think I was not happy with that nomination from Johnny because he's sort of, but he can be seen as different. He is seen in a way of being different from the group because he's so the gay one, and I know it sounds like a little bit stereotypical there, but as a gay man, I know what that's like. Somebody said, "Oh, you are clearly different from the others," and you know Andy's personality, and her, the whips and stuff that we've seen her get on Johnny so far. She is a little bit different, but I don't think that's a real reason to nominate someone because they're different, and that really upset me actually, especially from Johnny. And so we're now halfway through the nominations, and the nominations so far in the red zone are at risk are Andy with 6 nominations, and Sammy on 5, and Gordon with 3 points. Gemma and Sean are now on 2. Christina Ballerina is the next to nominate, and we learn that Christina is not a morning person. Do not touch her first in the morning. And she gives Ben 2 points. She gives Ben 2 points because she's not as close to him, and she gives 1 to Lisa for sort of the same reason that they're just not close, which Christina could make the effort of talking to her when she's not flirting with the other boys. Just saying. But we do see Christina and get to know each other more later after this. But that's their first nomination, Mark. It's good to see the nominations spread around there and sort of different people gaining points. We then get housemate number 8 nominated straight after Christina, one of her love interests, Peter. And Peter gives 2 points to Gordon because they're just on different wavelengths. And we get more of like the life experience as well. And Andy for 1 point because she's just the loudest and the pushiest in the house. So does he think like she's just the most annoying then? Like if she's most annoying, just say she is annoying. I think some of them because realize that this will air on TV, they don't hurt people's feelings. But I'm like, just get over it. Lisa is the 9th housemate to nominate, and we learn that she likes to play the saxophone and mountain bike not at the same time. But I like that. I just like that she all these different facts that we're learning about them. I think it's really cool. And Lisa gives 2 points to Christina because she hasn't spoken to her yet. Which, like I said for earlier, so you could have gone up to her. If you haven't spoken to her, why not? And this actually, people does question this in later seasons when they're like, "Oh, I just haven't got to know you." I'm like, "Well, that's your fault. You should have done it. You've had time to get to know people. It's been like a week now. You've been in there a week." And she then sort of nominates Andy for the same reason for 1 point. And so then we have had 9 nominations now. And the tally board has Andy in the lead on 8 points, Gordon and Semery tied on 5, and Ben and Christina and Gemma and Shana all on 2, Lisa on 1. We then have the final 3 to nominate, starting with Gordon. And Gordon gives 2 to Sarah Marie because she's demanding in an unnecessary way, and he doesn't think there's not much character depth to last the whole way with him. So he thinks that he will have no conversation at all with her if he gets the yam of her. That Samri does drain quite quickly on a few people, it seems. And then he gives 1 point to Ben because he's young, the second person says young, and he has not much life experience and therefore will have little to talk about. And as we've seen, and so that's tit for tat there because Ben nominated Gordon and Gordon nominated Ben there. And we then move on to Andy and the penultimate nominator. And Andy says that if she wins, she would have plastic surgery. Where? Don't exactly know. I don't personally think she needs it, but she can do what she likes. And she gives Charlotte 2 points because she feels that Charlotte's just not fitting in with the group and she's not being very open and quite shy within good situations. But I've seen Charlotte being a bit vocal actually. She's actually been quite vocal in some group situations. And Lisa for 1 point because sort of the same reason, but doesn't think that they will last long and down the line. And so again, so don't think they have much conversation in between them. But so there's the way they should get to know them. And then the last housemate to nominate is Blair. And it says his nickname's Witch. Witch. I don't know where that comes from. I want to know more about that. But he gives Auntie 2 points because she just gets on his nerves. I want to know more about how does she get on his nerves. I want these more detailed. And also then gives Gordon 1 point because he can't seem to get along with him and find anything that is beneficial towards him in the house. So those are the nominations. I thought most of them were cop outs. Majority of them. But we do have the final nomination tally. Andy has 10 nomination points. Samu gets 7. Gordon on 6. They are nominated for eviction this week. Shana escapes with 4. Ben gets 3. Christina, Gemma, and Lisa all get 2. Blair, Johnny, Peter, and Todd gained no nomination points this week. And Gretel then crosses to them to announce the nominees. And Johnny comes straight up and gives all the nominees a hug. Yes, the hug of death has started for Johnny. And Gordon says he's not surprised to be nominated. He felt he's nominated, but he does seem to be gutted to be nominated. He's a bit more down than normal. I think he's actually quite upset that he's nominated. But doesn't want to show it. Sarah Marie says she knew she was she knew she was going to be nominated, and she thinks she was nominated because she shows off her body more, and she really doesn't want to go. And Andy is shocked, and Andy thinks that she got the most nominations, and thinks all three housemates were nominated because they were the most outrageous. She is not happy with that at all. She is very upset, and she doesn't want to go first. And that's it for the nomination show and this week's edition of Nomination Investigation. And we're going to do the same for every week. I'm going to break down those nominations. So, with the nominations done, we're going to see the rest of how week 2 plays out as we see what happens in The Daily Show. And we're now starting off with week 2 in the house, and it's the day of the nominations announcement. And Shana thinks she's definitely going to be the first to go. She's talking with Lisa in the bedroom, and Lisa says that Shana would be the last person she would ever think would be nominated this week. It goes then for brilliant narrator Mike Goldman, says that Pete and Christina have been getting more physical. Ooh, now of course we don't see this on the Daily Show. We'll see a little bit more of it during Uncut. But then we bounce back to that conversation with Lisa and Shana, because Lisa says that she feels bizarre around Christina, and Shana feels like Christina's being a bit sheltered around her. Not sure what her intentions are with Pete and Blair, because we can see the house, can see that sort of love triangle going on, and Pete and Christina are the hot topic in the house right now. Lisa also says that she's not really liked Christina because Christina does ignore her, and we know that Lisa is an early bird. And Christina, we learned from the nomination fact file that she is not a morning person. So that sort of makes sense, but without really knowing that. I don't think Lisa knows, because I don't think she really spent enough time with Christina. So Lisa just feels that Christina's just being rude to her. But we do also get that Shana thinks that Pete is cute, and we do get this quite a few times during the week. Shana thinks Pete's cute and would it would kill her the longer she stays in being with Pete, because he's so cute, and I think he'll be just too much of a temptation. I don't know. But don't worry, the Shana liking Pete train, there's ebbs and flows, and we're going to get to that soon. So Christina, we see Christina talking to Sarah Marie, and she's struggling with trusting Pete following a conversation they had the previous night. And so Sarah Marie is reassuring her that Pete really likes her, though they haven't kissed yet. That they may have done some other things, but they haven't kissed yet. And then 2 hours later, Christina goes back to her own bed, and Pete straight away jumps into her bed, and 2 minutes later, he gets kicked out back into his own bed. We then go and see the nomination fallout after Gretel's announcement, and Andy's crying. She cries to Gordon. Johnny is all over Andy, the start of the Johnny Rotten arc, I think, here. Though it doesn't really get confirmed until after the following week's nominations. And well, Andy's upset. Gordon, Dolphins out in the pool. He chills out, and he takes a step back, a quiet approach, while Andy is not happy, and she lets everyone know that she's just not happy, and she just thinks that because she's been nominated because she's just so out there. We then go back to this whole Christina Pete thing, as Christina asked Pete to have a chat on the sofas, and they talked about being together on the show the previous night. This was the previous night's conversation, and it freaked her out a little bit. Sort of, I feel like how he worded the conversation freaked her out a little bit, and Pete clarifies he just wants to say, if we're going to sort of do something, he wanted some privacy at times away from the cameras. I think that especially in the cameras, because they can see the camera in the bedroom, they know it's watching them. Whereas sometimes when they have the cameras behind the mirrors, sometimes you forget they're there, and they're all good. Christina's fine, and they've made it. We then have them play Monopoly. I don't remember them having board games in the house, but they're just playing Monopoly, and while all of a sudden Blair is massaging Christina's feet, the love triangle continues. And they're then told about the weekly task start the next day, which is they need to keep a fire going for 78 hours. They'll need to keep 2 housemates on watch at all times within an 8-feet perimeter of the bonfire. And last week, they bet 25% they were being safe, but they thought this week let's be a bit risky. We passed the previous task, and so they bet 75% on the task. And then we see the last sort of part of the episodes. We see Ben. He recreates a scene from Good Will Hunting, which is like Ben. Whenever we usually see Ben, he just does these random like scenes. Like we got seen of him doing Lord of the Flies, like from Good Will Hunting. Very random from Ben, and I think they're doing these little talents. And Johnny does his rap, and he kept it like lyrically, kept it like rhyming, but it was a bit cringy coming from Johnny, but it was really entertaining. And Christina wanted to teach the men ballet, but the boys tried to drag it up a little bit, and Gemma drags at Ben, giving him a makeover. And that's because it was a nice thing to see Ben interacting more with the group, because we don't really get to see much of Ben on the show. And then the next day, it's Shana and Blair's shared birthday. The girls are doing push-up on their knees, I should say. And those are the sort of push-ups I do. I can't do proper push-ups. I have to do push-ups on my knees. I just can't do the full ones. I can't do it. I don't have the balance for it. But Johnny, of course, leading his exercise class, and Blair outside, he's in a grump. He's woken up with a grump, and he says, no wonder he's a nance. And right now, I'm not on the Blair train, because that was slightly offensive. I wasn't happy with Blair in this moment. Then we see some of the men coming together, chopping the wood for the task. So they're given a whole new batch of wood. They're given a replacement axe that Todd had previously broken, all for the Firewatch task. And there was a lot of guys come around to chop the wood, and Johnny was like, there's too many cooks around chopping, but don't think any of them listened. So they then, for the task, had to light the fire, but they left it quite late. They had like 2 minutes left to light the matches to light the fire, to get the fire going, because if the fire's not started by when the timer starts, they instantly fail. But they did it just in time. We then see them putting together the shopping list, and we do get a bit of tension here, because they do have $367.50 to spend on this week's shopping, and Shana doesn't feel that they need to spend lots on beer and wine. And Blair and some of the others disagree. And I think the boys decided to get their way, and Shana wasn't happy that they just left her out there. We then see Pete, who's on Firewatch. He asks Sarah Marie. Actually, it's Pete asks on behalf of Gemma to Sarah Marie to put like some bread on the shopping list, And Sarah Marie says it in a quite a casual way, not with the correct grammar. And Pete was not happy the way she said it. But it seems like Pete's getting annoyed pretty quickly with Sarah Marie very, very easily. And so we then see Christina and Lisa hanging out while Pete gets beautified by Sarah Marie. And it's interesting. It's nice to see Christina and Lisa hanging out because we saw I talked about just before how Lisa didn't feel like she was getting along with Christina. So I like that Lisa was going up and attempted to like have this bonding moment. And so Sarah Marie was beautifying, but there was a lot of beautifying in the house at the moment. A lot of them getting plucked away, especially Pete. And Sarah Marie just like smothers her mammalian protuberances in Pete's face, just smothers him. Poor Pete. We then go to the birthday party, and so Big Brother provides a cake and extra alcohol for the house, so they're instantly already excited, and it also gives them body paint, which we don't get to see that much of. Really, them using it. We do. Of course, it does get taken away from them. I think the next day, Shana wants to find a good outfit for the party, but she goes to her own clothes and was like, no. So she goes to her own clothes, and I think she ends up choosing an outfit out of Andy's collection, and she looks hot. Go Shana. Shana really like looked really good there, and I think she really felt confident in herself after that. And so we then have Lisa's saying a bloke's gonna win the show, and you can tell she's slightly drunk here. But Shana does something Pete's nice anymore. In like I suppose 12 hours, she's off the Pete train, and she thinks he's just a charmer. And then Shana and Blair get some family messages from home, and I believe that Blair has a brother in America, so he sent a message. And after this, Christina and Blair get close. Ooh. Sarah Marie, then there's this whole thing about Sarah Marie nearly failing the task because Pete asked a question and Sarah Marie went to sort of go to answer him, but she left the said perimeter for the task. So Pete quickly goes and jumps in, but there's a whole thing of, because one person was said to be manning it, that she failed the task, and the whole house of like most houses had a sitting in dining room waiting for asking Big Brother, how we failed the task? Do we have to then spend the next 2 days watching it if we know she's failed? But Big Brother said, you'll find out on Thursday, and so they sort of like, oh, we have to continue with the task. But Sammy thinks that the whole house hates her because she thinks she's failed it. We then see Ben in the diary room because he says he's grateful for being able to have Blair and Charlie get their messages from home, but I think more he's thankful for the beer a little bit. But we could tell this was a genuine side of Ben. And then we see Andy's passed out on the bedroom floor. She's just partied out, and Shana gets a nice goodnight hug from Johnny. But Shana doesn't get too much sleep because she is on Firewatch as we start the next day. She's on Firewatch with Blair and Sarah Marie. And Blair tries to keep everyone up with in their spirits. And he does this terrible song of a guitar. It's just bad. And Blair sort of then makes it clear that he's not in the race with Christina. He knows that sort of there's thing going around that between him, Christina, and Pete, and that he says that he's not interested in Christina, and that he thinks of her more in a sister way and not in a more of a romantic way. That he normally generally communicates better with girls than guys in the outside world. And he also feels that whenever he was around Christina, that Pete has been a bit territorial of Christina. But I think on Pete's end, that's seen a little bit different. We're going to get to that very soon. So Shana thinks Christina is playing all the boys against each other. And like Shana, I think Shana just does not like Christina at all, and that's confirmed from what we saw, what we talked about earlier. A lot of housemates are hung over, and we could tell that. Gordon has a sore head, and apparently Johnny kissed Andy during the party while drunk, allegedly. Even though we didn't see this, and I know we didn't see it on Uncut. And apparently Pete and Blair at one point kissed, apparently, allegedly. And Pete also said to snog Shana, apparently, at one point. And then, which I would like to see, is because this would have been an interesting story arc, and just extra bits that were a bit more fun that I would have liked to have seen. We then have, as part of the task, they have to keep the fire going, and then a rain cloud pops up, and there was like this tiny bit of like the tiniest little shower, and they thought it was going to rain, but it was just a false alarm. And we then see Johnny. Johnny's getting annoyed with the lack of cleaning in the house, calling it a pigsty. Now there was a lot of them in the house, and we learned that on the first night. Like there's especially like 3 of the girls who said they like a clean house. It's like Christina and Lisa, and actually I think bond on this. How they like a clean house, and so it's weird that they've like let it get untidy, because Lisa's I think coming up she says she likes a clean kitchen, and we see Johnny cleaning up the kitchen, and so I was thinking, are they taking turns cleaning, or is it just that they've just been preoccupied with the task? I don't know. But then we see Shana. It's 1:50 p.m. and Shana is finally going to bed. She's been up on watch all night, so she's finally going to bed. And Andy in the dome says that she likes Blair, but only on a physical appearance level, not in an intellectual way. And that she thinks Christina will hook up with Blair soon. She wasn't there when Blair said it's not going to happen. But we then see Blair. He goes to sleep on Christina's shoulder. Oh. And we see then Pete joins Christina now in the kitchen. Now she's away from Blair. Pete sort of feels comfortable to now be around Christina with the rest of the group. So I think that's, a bit of it, that territorial thing that Pete feels like Blair might be a bit territorial over Christina a little bit. And then we get dinner. And so Big Brother has decided, but this was before sort of like the weekly family dinners that we had in more later seasons. We get Big Brother having given them dinner questions, and tonight's discussion was first love. And Johnny reveals that his first love was this girl when he was 11. Her name was Joanne. She had blonde hair, and he asked her out, but she said no. Oh, Johnny. And then Blair said it was this girl who actually he's still in contact with and spoke to him or was in contact with him a few weeks before. And they were offend to offend. But I want to know more. We have very little to go on this. I want to know more about this from Blair. But I feel like he was very reserved, and you could tell he very little, like he didn't really want to talk about it, because I feel like he was very sheltered in that part. And then we get Ben, and Ben said he was very honest, saying he had never been loved, doesn't know what it feels like. His longest relationship has been 3 months, and I felt we're getting quite vulnerable here with Ben. I really like that Ben opens up here. And Todd said he was unsure before whether he'd been loved, but he knew that he was in love with his current girlfriend that he's with now. Christina says she met a guy through dance who she dated for 3 years, and then ended it when she went to Monte Carlo. I want to know that story. I want to know what she got up to in Monte Carlo. I'm sorry, it's my new fascination. I need to know that story immediately. Lisa said She had lots of crushes, but she's not sure if she was in love, and she's had two prior serious relationships, but she's still not 100% sure that if she had been in love. And then we go to Pete, who was sort of trying for, because he was doing like some painting, he was trying to get out of it, but he couldn't, thanks to Johnny. And so it was like when he was 19 and 20, he was at schoolies, and he met this girl for a friend, and they dated for a year, and then she became a cop, so he broke up with her. I don't know why being a cop it made her break up with her. Maybe because I don't know. But then we get before bed, Ben and Blair golfing over the pool, and I think that's something we so they bonded at. We see that close friendship they're starting to build, because we've seen it a little bit, but I feel like them golfing quite often really bonds them together as their core friendship there between Ben and Blair. And also we see this here. Some housemates have taken a mattress off the bed and are sleeping on the floor. I don't know. Is it because they want room for group snuggles, like sleeping together? I don't know. I don't know why this a lot of them start sleeping on the floor, because the beds are just there and they're perfectly fine. So the next day we're seeing Andy and Gordon getting a little bit closer, and Pete wants a temporary tattoo that Gemma said she'll give him, and Christina is in the kitchen with Johnny, and she asks Johnny if everything's okay because she thinks he's been ignoring her. But Johnny says that's not the case, and he feels really bad that Christina thought that. We then see a new mini task here where they have to create a plaster cast of their face for the wall, sort of like a memory wall, so that it gives a lasting impression of him in the house. But Gemma then goes about talking about some of her housemates flashing their bodies around the house. I think we know who she's talking about, and says it's tacky and she can't believe they're doing it. While Pete joins the conversation, Gemma's talking to Pete about this, and says how it's good to keep a bit of mystery about it. You don't want to give everything away and like give everything away at the start. Like keep a bit of mystery in the relationship, and we've seen a few times here Pete and Gemma really bonding through these deeper conversations. Back to the plaster casts here. Now, there's been a lot of worry about how they're going to turn out, and Sarah Marie was really panicking about doing it. Because all you had to do is like you had these nose plugs in your nose, and you had to breathe through your mouth through a straw. But she did it. Well done, Sarah Marie. And Andy had some leftover plaster cast. She made a plaster cast of her boobs, but we never actually get to see it in the end product. We then move on to Blair, and the girls think that Blair will be the hottie for the girls outside the house, and Christina says that I think she's in a conversation with Sarah Marie here, and she says everything's fine with Peter following their conversation. But the most triggering thing in this conversation is that Christina's wearing a bucket hat. And I've got a big gripe over bucket hats. I don't think they should ever exist. They're just horrible and should be burned immediately. We then see Gemma. She it's her boyfriend's birthday, so she wants to glam up to give her boyfriend a little message. Her mood's been going up and down because she's happy it's her boyfriend's birthday, but she's not happy how her plaster cast has turned out because she just hates every little part of it. And so she goes into the diary room to give her message to her boyfriend, not knowing that it can't be passed on because messages to the outside world can't be done. So today's dinner topic is your best or worst childhood memory. And we get a few sad ones here. Semri's cat died. For him, is when his parents got divorced. For Gemma, when she was tricked thinking her pet lamb that her dad got her was killed by this, sounds like a psycho man, tricked her, and that left a scar for life. And then we end the night with Andy massaging Gordon's back before bed. Ooh. We move on as the next day, and Sarah Marie is wide awake from being on fire shift all night, and she's keeping the house awake. And later, Pete and Blair are not happy with it at all. Pete is very peed off about it. And apparently, when Johnny came to bed, was sort of egging her on, so Pete was happy about that. And then we see Lisa and Christina, and they bond over cleaning Lisa and Christina, and which I mentioned earlier. And Shana, who was on duty all night, oversleeps and has to suffer a cold shower. Now, I'm the same as Shana. I hate cold showers. I cannot do cold showers at all. I will even not shower if they were cold. Like, I just cannot do cold showers. So the nominees are isolating themselves from the rest of the group, and Semery tells her infamous Mackey's nipple story, where she went to order Mackey's at one point, which is, for those who don't know, McDonald's, and she got one of her nipples out, and the guy serving her was just all shaky and mumbly because he couldn't believe that she had it out, and she just found it absolutely hilarious. Basically, that's the story. And then we have Christina and Todd there doing clean the windows, and Christina talks to Todd more about how she's recently started stand-up comedy. We talked about that at launch, and how she likes doing research for it. So finding out from other comedians, like what sort of like stories work, what don't, what sort of things to add into your act. And I really like that because that's a really interesting part of comedy, because comedy is just not about telling jokes, it's about stories, funny stories. And Gemma shaves Gordon's hair, so because it is going back his hair, so shaves his hair so he has his little spikes only showing. Andy tells Christina that she mom did something with Gordon. She's feeling very frisky towards Gordon, but also during this conversation mentions that she might want to do something with Pete, but Pete doesn't turn her on. And I'm thinking, you want to do something with Pete in front of Christina? Okay, Andy. And then we see that Pete is sick. Pete's starting to get a bit of the flu, and he goes to bed early. But we do get the test results, and Sarah Marie didn't break the rules. The barrier that they put up was incorrectly erected and not correctly put within the correct 8-foot limit. And so they actually passed the task. And Semri and Andy have a celebratory swim. And Semri is very happy that she didn't let the group down. While Pete's sick, he kicks Christina out of bed so she doesn't get sick. And the rest of the house in the lounge room play a truth or lies game. And we find out that Johnny had coffee with Kylie Minogue while he was in a towel after just getting out of a shower. That is a name drop story. I think well deserved there. A good name drop there. Like, I want the full, like, he did give details, but I want full exact details on outfit, times, like how long he spent with it, what anecdotes she told, everything. But then we also do get a sadder truth here, and Blair saying he was abused as a child. And Andy, once again, she sleeps next to Gordon, but he's not interested. So Andy decides to cast a spell. So she goes to the bonfire as it's dying down, and she casts a spell into the bonfire. And that's where we leave it from the Daily Show for the week. So what we're going to do now is, if you are on the audio podcast, you're going to get uncut from me. If you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, I'll be back in a moment as we continue with the Saturday show. See you all in a minute. Hey YouTube, I know you love Uncut, learning about all the naughty shenanigans happening in the house. If you want my breakdown on all the Uncut action, you can find it exclusively on our audio-only version podcasts wherever you stream podcasts. Okay, it's now time to talk about the Saturday show. We're going to do a bit of a lightning round here and get through this quickly. The Saturday show was a show hosted once a week by Gretel, where she would had guests on, talk about all the different happenings in the house from that week. They would interview celebrities, and they would have lots of different segments. They'd have daily show segment. They'd also have a recap segment of the week. So in this first edition, they tell us that Blair has already got his own fan site, and we see a clip of Michelle, the president of his fan club, saying that she couldn't find any pictures of Blair online, so she made a website of her own so everyone can enjoy pictures of Blair. And but also there was going to be a lookalike contest for Blair in Melbourne the following weekend. And his brother, Gavin, who I believe is in a band, recorded a track for someone to help Blair possibly stay in the house, but also promote the band. So he's the first one to get his own fan site. So definitely very popular with the girls and some guys on the outside. We then get a big segment on Save Andy, the Save Andy campaign. We got Mitch from Triple M in Brisbane being the leader of our campaign to save and keep Randy Andy, which was the nickname for Andy in Big Brother 1 here in the UK. And yeah, that sounds like beep your horn to save Andy. During this segment, there's mostly men. There are some women, but there's mostly men saying they want to see Andy stay in the house. And there was this one old guy who says he wants Andy to be the next Prime Minister. Bless him. And then Gretel in the auditorium has her husband Damon and Mitch from Triple M there for an interview. And Damon says it doesn't bother him that what people been saying about Andy and what they say about their open relationship. And then when Gretel asks, about what Andy's been saying has about how she wants to basically have sex with like 5 people before she leaves the house. That it says that when Andy was selected in the final shortlist, that she said, there wasn't really anyone who was grabbing her, that she was gravitating towards having sex in the house. And so she didn't have any expectation when going in to have sex. But Damon says that Andy says a lot. So it feels like she puts on a big game, says, oh, I'm going to do this, sort of maybe as an attention grabber thing. But he did mention that, he is slightly a little bit worried about her being around Gordon, because Gordon, it seems, is very quite Andy's type, being tall and blonde. Damon thinks that the reserved housemates are playing a game, and that Andy is one of the real people in the house. So then we go into a bit of a Daily Show segment from the last 24 hours, and we first see that Todd has had a nightmare. He dreamed that he was in prison, but he was on Big Brother while he was in prison, and there was a communal living situation with the guys and girls being able to share beds, and he was let out on day release at one point, and then Charlotte says that other people had dreams about being on the show. So they cleared that, but I wanted to find out more about that dream. I want to know how the show was working in prison. But then we see the outcome of the mask task the other day, which we saw them having to create their own plastic cast as part of a sort of a memory wall in the house. And they then, once they created, they painted theirs and hung on the wall. And a lot of them looked really creepy, I would say. But My favourite was Andy. Andy's was the best by far. She really very artistic as. Uh, Ben, Ben. I feel like went for sort of rugby colours, but also I feel like it was like very masquerade ball, and I also liked Gordon's as well, like how he sort of made his like only like put some features on but made it stand out, and instead of put Gordon, he just put Flash. I like that. We then get a little segment on how the toilet has been smelling a bit. So instead of air freshener, because they haven't bought air freshener from the shopping list, they used old matches from the fire task this week, and they burnt it a bit and used it to take away the smell in the toilet. Which don't know if that was the best thing to do, but Gemma says she wants to order air freshener in the following week's shopping budget. And Gordon and Todd then make sort of this. Gretel says, because Gretel narrates this, the first song at the house, though it's terrible. And then the last segment is the sort of the major segment of this bit, and it's the house trying to persuade Todd to ditch the dreads. And he says, he was thinking about if he didn't make it, he was going to do it anyway. And so they decide to go for Lisa's fortune telling book. And the book said that he needs to be outrageous, so he decides to do it. So you see them, like all the housemates, I think one by one, cut off like pieces of dreads, and from where they left off, the hair was very like 60s, like sort of afro, and it just went back to Gretel, and Gretel was like, that haircut is like no, I hate it. Get back the dreads. But of course, like we don't know. Like they just cut off the initial dreads. Like we don't know if he was like going to get the clippers on later because they just cut off the segment. For those who know, he comes back as rather important in series 2 during the nomination shows, and he looks much better there. I will say that. We then get so there's a lot of other segments like the recap segment and the psychologist segment, which were absolutely boring. And they also do like they go behind the scenes, and we don't need to recap those. But the last thing I want to say is that they went around the country and did viewer nominations. So who would the viewers like to go see out? And we got a lot of different answers. So a lady said that she wanted Andy out as she is so full of herself, and if she was chocolate, she would eat herself. So I think Andy would do anything to stay in the house. Another lady said Ben because he's not very attractive, and Sam Marie because she's a whiner. And another said that Todd because he's just terrible at the drums, and another said Andy because she's far too fake, and Sam Marie because she's not a team player and is just just says like, too much about herself. Someone else said that Andy has an attitude and just comes on to everybody in the house. And Sam Marie, because she just whines and has a mole. If you would have mentioned her mole, they do not like the mole. Like they go in on the mole. Another person said that Todd, because they don't like his hair, he needs to shave, and they were not happy he broke the axe on the first night. Another guy who was wearing like a cap with sort of the Gordon hairstyle, so they wanted Gordon out for the stupid haircut. And Sam Marie because another guy says Sam Marie because she's just skanky. Which I find so funny. They just use the word skanky. And last person said Pete because he's going out with he's going with lots of girls in the house. Although to me, he's only going after Christina. But I think it's confused because other girls sort of coming in. Like he had Sam Marie suffocating him with his breasts the other day, and some of the other girls, Elise and Shana, have said that they like him, but Pete's sort of not liking them in that way. So I would contradict that statement, but that was it. That was just a Saturday show, and we did that in under 10 minutes. It was pretty good. So let's get on with the eviction show. Who's going to go? here we are, finally at the first eviction show of the series, and the crowd are wild. Of course, this has been the biggest show right now in the country. Everyone's talking about it, and so the crowd are so excited, most of them especially to be on TV. And so Gretel comes out and she addresses the fans in the audience of the three nominees. She goes first to Sarah Marie's fans who are in the bunny ears and the crowd booing Sarah Marie, yeah, which I was shocked by because the Aussie crowd never boos. It's cheers for Andy and her tiaras. There's a mixed response for Gordon with the guys wearing the caps for Gordon's hair. They get a mix of cheers and boos. Gretel crosses to the house. Now, we don't get a quiet as a mouse. We're not at that point just yet. But I do at this point, we're going to take a segment. Is it fashion or haute couture? Now, this will be its regular scheduled segment. Of course, we do have no best dressed fan this week, and they introduce it at the end of the show. But Gretel's look, she has like the pleather trousers and like the pink turtleneck. I like it. I think that's a fashionista level. I really liked the overall look. I don't think it was sort of as impactful as the launch night one was. I liked the launch night slightly better, mainly for the jacket. But I actually liked this outfit well for being more of a studio look and being in the auditorium. So I really liked Gretel's look. And then we see the three nominees look as she crosses to the house. Now, Gordon is wearing his exact same launch night look, so Gordon loses points there. The only thing he's changed, of course, we know his hair's changed up a little bit, so his hair's more spikier, which I'm not really a fan of. I liked when he did like the separate little spikes, not altogether like all like spiky. So Gordon's lost points there, especially with recycling habits. Sarah Marie, she's wearing the same skirt as the rest of them, but she is wearing a different top, and I think it's a better top. Sort of similar to her, but without turtleneck. I liked this top. I thought it was a much better top for Sarah Marie. While Andy is going full haute couture here, and she's dressed up to the nines here in feathers and the animal print. She's like, if I'm going out, I'm going to go out in style. Let me tell you. And so that is the quickened fashion update from me in fashion or haute couture. We do briefly also get a crossover to Perth to the dollhouse, which the gentlemen they're just gone to watch Big Brother while the girls cross to go out to talk about Sarah Marie, have a little drink, and so if they don't say anything sort of we haven't sort of heard before, she's also promised them a trip to Bali as well as the sisters. There's other segments that happen. They cross to friends and family. They don't give anything new. They go to Antism Damon and Gordon's roommate, and they don't give anything new. Then we have a psychologist in. We're just going to skip that segment. But then we come back from the break, and it's only because Gretel's simulating. So while someone's also like brought a doona from home, so Gretel and this audience guy is simulating the dancing doona, which is funny. And then Gretel crosses to the house for the house announcement, and she sort of asks them, have you said their goodbyes? And because Big Brother we saw earlier, Big Brother saying, oh, okay, it's time for you to pack your bags, and you'll only have 20 seconds once the announcement's been made, so make sure you say your goodbyes beforehand. So Gretel's like, oh, has everyone said their goodbyes? And he says, no. And Gretel says, we don't mean that kind of goodbye, Andy. So she's throwing one last bit of shade Andy's way, and the house are in hysterics, and I like that. Gretel having a bit of fun. Gretel having a bit of fun with the house. And then she gets the envelope, and it says, Andy, it's time to go. which I think for the first few times you'll hear the person's name and it's time to go. Then it goes, it's time to go, that person. So we see it in its first iteration here. And Ben and Gordon are carrying her out the house the way that she should be. She is not surprised as she talks to the camera. She's going up the hill to the auditorium, and she meets Gretel. They're walking down the very foggy eviction tunnel, and Gretel so slips. So apparently, Andy tripped her up, according to Gretel. But I think it was a very slippery vinyl, and it was very foggy. She slipped, and there's shards of glass, like mirror, on the side. So she trips, and she cuts her finger open. Now you don't see it, and it became a headline during the week, and she does slightly refer to it in the upcoming eviction show and few series to come. It is referenced. She sits down for the interview with Gretel, and once the crowd had calmed down, because it's like a big party in there, and it says that she enjoyed everyone's company in a PG way, but she was also disappointed in a way by everyone keeping PG because she was authentically being herself. And we see the voting tally in 272,787 votes are cast, with Andy getting 44% of the votes, Sarah Marie getting 40, very close. That the Save Andy campaign kicking in a bit, I think, but not enough to save Andy. With Gordon just getting 16%. And Gretel asks her who she thinks nominated her, and she thinks Shana Blair and Lisa nominated her. And so after seeing the nominations, she's shocked by Johnny nominating her. I was shocked as well by Johnny nominating her, as she felt it was a close friend. And she also was shocked by Todd. She felt someone who was also slightly different in how she was also shocked that Todd voted for her. Well, Gretel talks about being an exhibitionist, and is proud to be an exhibitionist, which we definitely see and they show a little package of her being an exhibitionist, and it reminds me of the plaster cast of her boobs, which we never get to see again. Also, they show a segment of Andy being bossy, and it was like 4 clips as a short like segment. So saying, "Ooh, why were you being bossy?" And we do get a little bit more of that in a minute. Gretel invites husband Damon on, and Gretel makes sure to limit Andy and Damon's kissing time because they know they'll kiss forever. And Gretel asks them both whether they'll add cameras into the house, and Andy said yes, I think jokingly. And I got a bit of a woohoo from the crowd. And Andy said that she went overboard in the house to make sure her husband was watching, keeping interested, but was upset Gordon didn't want to pursue anything in the house, even though he says that him and his girlfriend had a semi-open relationship. I don't think he sort of was sort of ready for something to happen sort of on national TV. And so the days when she woke up and she was annoyed at Gordon, she had to do lots of laps in the garden to de-stress because she was so angry that Gordon and so sexually frustrated that Gordon did not want to do anything with her. And she wishes that the house had more fun nights when they didn't have alcohol, and when alcohol wasn't provided or involved, because we know that the house ordered quite a bit of alcohol, and she wished that they had less alcohol and just be more generally themselves and sort of didn't need alcohol to sort of let themselves loose. So then we introduced to the what's called the infamous 11 Big Brother questions. I know in a few seasons it goes down to 10. We have 11 here. So she asked, who did she miss most in the house? Of course, she said her husband. Who's your favourite person in the house? She went for 2. She went between Gordon and Sarah Marie, of course, her fellow 2 nominees. In the past week, they sort of really bonded together being nominated. Then asked, who was your least favourite in the house? And she said Shana. And who had the most annoying habit? She said Blair, because he was like saying this word, I've forgotten what it was. But it was like, and just really, it was like random and really, just really annoyed her. She wanted to have sex with him, but it was really annoying. Who was the person you would the most fall in love with? And we know it's Gordon, because we know he's more her type. Because apparently he's more of a Scandinavian look. That's more her type. And who was the funniest person in the house? And that's Ben. And that was a bit like, oh, Ben. I think I was a bit surprised by that. I was a bit surprised by that. Who was the laziest person in the house? And she was struggling to think of some of as lazy, but she went. The crowd says Sarah Marie, so she went with Sarah Marie. But she didn't necessarily think that. And we already know that Andy had no regrets in the house. So Greta went on to question 9, which is, what's the proudest moment in the house? And she said that she was proud of being herself. And she thinks she was struggling to think of who's going to go next week, and the crowd was shouting out Sarah Marie. So she went with that, and then asked who she would like to win. She would like to win Gordon to win because of he would do lots of good things with the money. And then we introduced the prizes. There's just 2 prizes: the Sony camera and the PlayStation 2, which the PlayStation 2 was something like very new at the time. And I've got a PlayStation 2. I still use my PlayStation 2, so that just I feel my age there. And then the first series ends like with a performance of an artist or a group, and Denny Hines is there forming a single that sort of ends the show. So it's time to memorialize Andy, the first evicted. Now I'm going to maybe rethink the name of this segment, but for now I'm going to call it Time After Time, as we look back at Andy's time in the house. And Andy was very impactful in her 2 weeks there. She wanted to get a lot more done, but some of the housemates prevented her from doing everything she wanted to do in the house. She was out there from her outfits and her accoutrements she brought into the house with her. She was very outspoken, and she didn't let anything prevent her from speaking out. She didn't feel like holding back at all, and she 100% always wanted to be authentically herself and show off as much as she could. And we saw everything. And how will the house change now she's gone? Will it be a lot less quieter? Possibly, but Sarah Marie's in there, so Volandis will still be there. And what will happen with Gordon now? Because like Gordon was one of the closest people with Andy, so I want to see where Gordon goes next. I want to see how that development grows. And if she would have stayed, I think she could have won? No. I think she would have gone pretty soon after, because there was, as we saw from the public reaction to, even though there was a lot from the Save Andy campaign, there was a lot of people against, and I think that would have outweighed it a lot soon after, when if a lot of fan favorites, like if she was up against Blair, she might have been screwed there. So not a winner, but I don't think she sort of went in expecting to win, but she gave it her all. And it's always sort of said that sort of the more exaggerated, louder people go home first. And yes, she was louder, and yes, that just follows sort of the trend a little bit, but she was a good housemate and took up a lot of the airtime within the first 2 weeks in the house. And that is it for this podcast. Remember, if you want to send me any feedback, ask me anything BBAU related, It doesn't matter whether it's about series 1, it can be about any series at all, anything BBAU related. You can either, if you're on YouTube, leave a question in the comments, or you can leave it in an email to me at hellohousepod@gmail.com. If you're listening to audio podcast, please give this a good rating. Give me a 5-star rating if you really enjoyed it. And if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up and a subscribe if you're not subscribed already. That really helps. And make sure, let me know that you like this podcast. And I really enjoyed making this, and I will continue doing this every week. Episodes about at least once a week, maybe twice a week if I have time. But I want to thank you for joining me and listening. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for joining me through this extended bumper edition of the podcast in our premiere episode. And thank you all for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Good night.